Yeah, 2-0 then to Spurs. This is 2 wins out of 2 for Frank, as we welcome in our very own Frank. Frank LeBoeuf joins us. Just a reminder, ESPN FC is presented by Xfinity. The Wi-Fi is booming. Stevie, what the heck was that from City?
It was the City of last year.
But they're not supposed to be the City of last year.
So everybody, with this propaganda we've been getting that this City's... Well, that's all it's been.
It's been Naden. Blame Naden.
Well, Naden's been the head of it.
Yes.
And you and I won't take all the credit, you and I told them that they've done absolutely nothing to change the back line. And we saw it today. I mean, when they're not scoring goals, then they are going to be losing games because they don't look as though they know how to keep a clean sheet. And Spurs were really impressive the way they went about it. It was from a solid base because they know that defensively they can be got at. And so they had a real solid back line, solid midfield, and waited for their opportunities. And that's what they did all game. They just broke, and every time they broke, they looked dangerous. And then, of course, you got Trafford making those types of mistakes. Then they basically handed the game to Spurs. At the same time, there was no reaction from Manchester City. I thought second half, right, here we go. The crowd's going to get into it. They're going to be pushing. They're going to be creating chances. They never created anything. I mean, Mamouche had a chance in the first half at 0-0 that might have changed the course of the game. Didn't take it, and then he disappeared. Haaland wasn't in the game either. Cherki, I mean, I don't know. Coming off the bench previously in pre-season and then last week, he looked the part. Today he gets a start and he absolutely did nothing. So this was a great win for Spurs, a deserved win for Spurs, and Man City haven't changed a jot.
Frank?
Yeah, I totally agree with Stevie. I found Tottenham very good and deserving the win. I found Van de Ven and Romero absolutely with a great performance and doing what they had to do and being very strong. I found the front line with especially Richarlison and Kudus, working hard, tracking back. As soon as they lost the ball, try to get the ball immediately after that. And they deserve to win. But from Manchester City, as Stevie said, they didn't change anything. And I'm upset about the second goal. Yes, Trafford made a mistake of giving the ball, but what about Nico? Why Nico wants to give, Gonzalez, why he asks for the ball? And you can see that again, when he really asks for the ball, when he has two guys behind him, and forces the goalkeeper to give him the ball. Yeah, okay, the goalkeeper has a choice and free will to decide whether he's going to give the ball or not, but it's forced by Nico Gonzalez. I don't get it. I don't understand if it's Guardiola asking that. And now we have to talk about Pep Guardiola. I already said, like Stevie, that I put Manchester City fourth in the league at the end of the season because I don't see why they will finish before that. Because they didn't change anything in the middle of the park, at the back, the way Pep Guardiola wants his players to play, it doesn't change. That football is over, and you have to change. Having the possession doesn't mean you're going to win the game, and it's been proven for almost a year now, even more.
I would say that, to Stevie's point, that this is Manchester City of last year. It's not only the defending part, and Frank just mentioned the possession there. The possession of the ball by Manchester City is really poor. By their standards, they're losing the ball in bad areas all the time. Misplaying passes, easy passes, passes that you come to expect Manchester City to complete regularly, consistently, and that's not happening. So it's not just the defending part that it's already bad. In the best of circumstances, when Manchester City were dominating the possession of the ball, if they happened to lose it, they were always exposed to counterattack opportunities because of the way that they set up and the way they try to play. But now, you still have the same issues defensively, and you add to that the fact that your possession is not nearly as good as it used to be. So more often than not, you're losing the ball in bad areas. More often than not, teams are attacking you and exposing how vulnerable you can be in transition. Beyond that,
they don't trust each other, do they?
No, absolutely not. And that is it's it's amazing how connected we are, Stevie. That's exactly where I was going next. You don't see, when I give you the ball, I don't know what you're going to do. And I don't trust that you're going to keep it. And so I don't take the next position that I'm supposed to take in order to make myself available to you. That happens with the ball. Without the ball, it's even more troubling. Because when I go and press you, that guy doesn't think that I'm going to get to you. And so therefore, he's not coming behind me. So as I come and press you, and there's not a second line of pressure, you just play right through me, and everybody's running the opposite way, and Manchester City are struggling. And this is not new, to the point that Stevie and Frank were both making. This is not new. It's going back to the middle of last season.
So did we get too excited last week because it was Wolves?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So what has Spurs done differently in these two games than we saw from Postecoglou last season? What has impressed you?
Where do you want me to start? You know, do you know what Frank's done? He's put even more pressure on Amorim.
Right.
You know, Amorim, albeit had half a season.
How did we get onto Manchester United?
Well, because
the bias.
Because
oh no,
Frank has been at Tottenham for 2 seconds. And you 100% can see exactly what Spurs are all about. And not only the way they're trying to play, but the actual culture that they have. That you can see it in them all. They're all quite happy to be nice and solid and be patient. And then when they get it, then they open up and then they play. And that he's done that in such a short space of time that now, particularly Amorim, can't turn around anymore and say, well, I haven't had enough time, or I haven't been able to train, or I haven't been able to do this.
Right.
So Thomas Frank 100% has got a way of playing and a culture at that club already in a short space of time. So whether it's Amorim or anybody else, they can't use that excuse anymore, because Frank has shown you how to do it.
Frank?
Yeah, first I want to say that every time Stevie says Frank, you know, I think he talks about me.
But,
I don't know.
He said nice things, take it.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But what I wanted to say, do we have to get carried away, you know, by the 2 games of Spurs when we have all said, when Postecoglou signed that he changed the game, he changed Spurs, that was much better, and Spurs will go very well very soon. Nothing happened, and Postecoglou has been changed. But I want to believe that what Thomas Frank is doing, it's absolutely fantastic, and I like, because that's more than the tactic. It's more the mentality of the players. What I felt today, which has changed dramatically, where everybody's concerned about the others. Ali was talking about the fact that Manchester City, they don't trust each other. You can feel that everybody at Tottenham knows exactly what to do according to what the teammate is proposing, is offering. And that's what I like. The 4 at the back, Porro, Spence, Romero, Van der Ven, they know what they have to do. And with the work that they do in the middle of the park and the commitment of the people at front, it makes a very complete squad, team, and if they carry on like that, well, they're going to surprise many teams, because even Richarlison, which I think is not a right striker, but the way he's involved in all movement, defensively and of course offensively, really impressed me today.
Can I just say though that I don't think we're getting carried away with Spurs.
Okay.
Because the way they're going about it and the way Thomas Frank has got them going, unlike Postecoglou, the way they're playing is absolutely sustainable for the whole season.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's simple. It's not complicated. It's basic.
It's like a haircut.
But it's done correct. But it's done at a high level. Oh, wow. And so that's what makes it sustainable.
It is a high level.
Aye.
And tight. And tight.
But it's about disappearing. But so that's why it's not crazy to get carried away, because they can do this all season.
Arsenal then, with the victory, winning at Manchester United and at Leeds. Now, a good start, of course, Arteta's campaign. Go on then, Steve. Big takeaways from this.
Gyökeres.
Yeah.
And the 2 injuries.
Okay.
You know.
Let's go positive first. Gyökeres.
Yeah, Gyökeres. I mean, this is huge for Gyökeres personally, because all the questions, the price tag.
Yes.
just every single thing that goes along with it. The unfair criticism we got last week. Well, I thought it was ridiculous that people were pulling him out when Arsenal as a team did nothing to help this guy. He was on his own, and I don't know what they were expecting. And today, well, he showed them what he's capable of. And as I said, it was just a ball played in behind into a wide area, and then from there he just took over. His instinct is to get it as close to the goal and stick it in the back of the net, and that's exactly what Arsenal have been needing over the last 2 or 3 seasons. And then to take the penalty as well, an absolute dream for Gyökeres.
Yeah, you agree, Frank?
I do agree. That's absolutely wonderful for the players and his confidence, and now he's let's say that his season is launched, and hopefully he's going to be scoring more and more goals. And but otherwise, yeah, I'm a little bit worried. That was yesterday when I was questioning, the signing of Eze.
Yeah,
if they need him. Yeah, they need him. Now they need him. They need him very well, very much.
So who was right, Frank Leboeuf?
Yeah.
Who was right?
Yeah, but because of the injury. So, and it's only fair to say that. No, but I'm very happy that Eze signed for Arsenal. It's going to be a plus for sure. But you know what? They scored 2 goals. When I was watching the highlights, it seems to be an easy game. It seemed to be an easy game for Arsenal. The first half, they were quite slow. I wouldn't say poor, but they were quite slow. Leeds had a very good chance to open the score
Arsenal
sheet.
5-0.
And
the former
really,
Chelsea boy is still having a go.
No. It's just that wasn't the standard of Arsenal. Of course, they deserve to win. They did what they had to do, and nothing has to be too much criticized about. But the first half, I said, what are they doing? They don't want to win that game. They're not the Arsenal that I know. So I was a little bit worried. Of course, after they did the job and 2-0 was already over, Leeds wasn't strong enough to cope with them. But it's going to be a big test next week. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah. And to see how it works without, of course, Odegaard and Saka, which it's a big blow.
Yeah, of course it's a big blow, but it is softened, Ali, by the fact that you've now brought in Eze, who can come in and replace one of your big players.
Yeah, and while he might have thought that he was going to ease his way into the rotation, now he's going to be shoved right into the rotation and say, this is why you're here.
Yes.
And
that's what you want, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And having an opportunity right away, not necessarily having to earn your place, but actually, you know what? We brought you for a reason. This is the reason. And according to Mikel Arteta, this injury of Bukayo Saka seems to be significant. Those are his words, not mine. I'm thinking, you know what? Now he gets an opportunity to play in a position in which he feels comfortable, to make a difference right away. And that's all fine and well, as long as you do make that difference, as long as you have that impact. If you don't, then it's pressure already on you. How you deal with that as a player, it depends on the individual, it depends on Eze himself. As for Arsenal, how do they deal with the absences of Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka? Well, of course, we just mentioned Eze. But they do feel like a team that can be light in the midfield and that you can take advantage of certain things in the midfield. But while I say that, I'm thinking, and I compare it to a team that we just discussed in Manchester City, I'm thinking, it feels, and I know it's different opposition, but you watch Arsenal against Leeds and you watch Manchester City against Spurs and you're thinking, these teams are not in the same level. You really think that there's a separation between Liverpool, Arsenal, and then the rest, and Manchester City is closer to the rest than they are right now, currently close to Arsenal. I'm encouraged by Gyökeres, not only by the goal, not only by his movement in and around the 18-yard box, but the work rate. The work rate is going to be important. And I think he brings a lot of that to this team with the obsession, and I think I would call it that, the obsession of scoring goals. That's what drives him. Why is that significant? Well, because when you think about whoever Arsenal have played in that position, Kai Havertz, he doesn't have an obsession to score goals. Gyökeres does.
Eze to come in against Liverpool?
I'm not so sure.
What do you mean?
I'm not so sure he's just walked straight in the team.
Well, obviously there's injuries to consider.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
if Odegaard and Saka out, there's no way Eze's not starting.
I think there's more chance of Eze maybe playing in the middle. I'm not so sure that he just walks straight in the team. That's all I'm saying. And Arteta's not the type of guy, I don't believe, that just signs a guy and then throws him in. I just don't. I think
he's got a week to work with him. He knows he's got no Odegaard. He knows he's not no Saka.
Let's just hold our horses and see what happens next week. I'm just telling you, I'm not so sure that Eze gets thrown in.
Well, if that's the case, then who would you throw in then, Stevie?
Well, does WHINGEY play in the middle instead of Odegaard?
Oh my God! You've got Eze.
I'm just telling you. I'm not so sure he gets thrown in.
Really?
But
Yes.
Who would you play though? If you were Arteta?
Well, I think Arteta is one of those guys who's like, well, I can't just throw him in now and blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't really know us. And
Doesn't he know us?
Aye. That's what he's like.
That's what he's there for.
I don't disagree. That's what he's there for. But I'm just telling you, the fact that he hasn't played, he hasn't trained.
But he will do. He's got a whole week. He's got a whole week before the Liverpool game.
Arteta is one of those guys.
You've gone mad again. You've gone mad again. Just
because you don't agree doesn't make anybody mad. I'm just telling you.
What you're saying doesn't make any sense. There isn't a big queue of people to come in and replace Saka or to replace Odegaard, is there?
Stick your mouth where your money is then. $20.
Definitely.
All right. There you go.
He's got angry.
There you go.
Here we go.
Ah, 20 What about it? And deliver.
Can't wait for next week. I can't wait for next week.
All right, well, here is how Manchester United have fared under Ruben Amorim in the Premier League, and the stats don't really paint a lovely picture. There you see 7 wins, 7 draws in 29 games, but it's the 15 losses that really put a damper on things. Plus, in those games, 33 goals and 44 allowed. Gentlemen, let's start. Shaka said it to me. Shaka literally said it to me. What a difference a week makes. We were talking about the improvements we saw in what was a loss against Arsenal. Fast forward to now. Does it feel like a step back, Craig?
Well, a couple of things. It was a really good 10 minutes, first 10, 15 from United, particularly from Cunha, but from United in general. And then Fulham figured them out and started to dominate the midfield and actually gave as good as they got, if not better, for the majority of the game. We just heard from the manager. I want to talk about the captain. I want to talk about that incident with the penalty kick, because I know Shaq's got strong feelings about this as well. What a whingy, whiny, little moaning pain in the butt. What an embarrassment. What an embarrassment to a professional footballer that the referee inadvertently nudged him as he was trying to back off, having everybody in position. And yet he made out, and this, Shaq said this to me, he made out that the referee had almost run into him in the process of him running up to take the penalty. That's how
threw off his routine.
That's how egregious he thought that was. It was. I was sitting watching it going, what a big kid. Any player worth his salt would have laughed that off and would have taken that penalty within 10 seconds. And yet he whined and moaned and cried, as he generally does, about something so innocuous, it was embarrassment. And that whole process just formulated in his little brain, and then he puts the penalty over. Which he may have done anyway, I don't know. But the process that led up to it, makes me just believe the mindset of Bruno Fernandes is so discombobulated it's embarrassing. Because to me, that isolated scenario in the game encapsulate a lot of his career at Man United, which has been good. A lot of it has been good, but there's been a sideshow to the Bruno Fernandes performances, and we saw it again there today. I thought it was embarrassing beyond belief.
So, but here's the thing, right? So there's a lot about this game that surely we have to discuss, but let's start here with Bruno Fernandes. And here's why old school players like ourselves continue to question Bruno Fernandes and his role as captain for Manchester United. That cost Manchester United 2 points today. No question, right? So during the game, watching here in the US, a lot of the commentary, a lot of the discussion was about whether that bump put him off, whether it should have put him off, whatnot. Immediately after the game, I see Bruno Fernandes does an interview and says, no, that didn't put me off. I reset, everything was fine, I just struck the ball really poorly. Later on, at some point, he does another interview and says, well, yeah, the referee bumped me. And then what really wound me up was he didn't apologize. Now, as you look at the replay, it's the slightest of bumps. Look how much Bruno Fernandes, this is of his own doing, makes of this. Look at how long he stays standing, glaring at the referee. That's unwarranted. It's a bump. It's a bump. How is that an excuse for that execution in this game, in this physical a game? And that for me is why, again, Bruno Fernandes comes in for as much criticism as he does. Misses that penalty, doesn't track Smith Rowe for the Fulham goal. And again, we're talking about still Manchester United's most talented player, Manchester United's captain, but I think reneging on his role and responsibility as the on-the-park leader.
How does that put you off a routine? What's your routine? You put the ball in the spot. The keeper plays a game of bluff, as keepers do. You got to make a decision in your mind. Where am I putting the ball? Am I going down the middle? Am I hitting it with pace? Or am I going for accuracy? That's the routine. He made such a song and dance about it. It became the story of that moment. It just became the story. But I for one, thought it just gave you an insight into the mindset of him. And I thought it was beyond embarrassing. In fact, I thought it was almost childish, school playground kind of stuff. I think we also saw two sides to Cunha today. He was absolutely brilliant for 15 minutes. And then tell me something else he did before he put a great cross in the 89th minute or whenever it was. And that sort of is him in a nutshell. You know, he didn't get his goal. And then he goes on the missing list because he's not a great person to do the donkey work defensively. And so he's a fantastic player, didn't get his goal today, and then goes missing. And then you've got the pressure that has been put on the Man United midfield, which we've all talked about, as Fulham started to take the game by the scruff of the neck. United start to look a little flaky, or a lot flaky, in the middle of the park. That's another scenario that Ruben Amorim has to fix. And the absolutely glaring one, which I shouldn't have to tell anybody, is I'd love to read the scouting report on Altay. Because there has to have been a scouting report on this goalkeeper. And if somebody has said, very good at set pieces and good in crosses, then you're out of job. Have you ever seen an elite level goalkeeper, Shaq, at this level on multiple games look as if he is frightened to death whenever somebody swings the ball in under his crossbar? Which begs the question, by the way, from a Fulham's point of view, when they had it on the other side, why they didn't send out a Sessegnon or a Robinson to whip it in left-footed and send Lukic out to whip the ball away from the goalkeeper. Because whenever they put it in under his crossbar, as was the case last week and as was the case last year, he was absolutely all over the place. And you're not going to put a consistent run of results together with a goalkeeper like that in, because teams are just going to exploit it.
I'll start with the goalkeeper and finish with the striker or strikers. I'll say I don't understand it. A week ago against Arsenal, I said as much as he has to take responsibility for the Arsenal goal, I also questioned Ruben Amorim and how Manchester United set up to defend against Arsenal from a set piece. Arsenal did nothing new, nothing that we didn't see all of last season. How you go that unprepared to start the season in Arsenal's first game, set pieces was simply beyond me. Then coming into this one, he says he sticks with Bandera because it's for tactical reasons. He just looked at who we're playing against, and this is the right goalkeeper for me. So he leaves Onana on the bench. And at no point did Manchester United look comfortable from any set piece. Yeah. The goalkeeper didn't look comfortable. Manchester United had this odd zonal marking system that I have never been enamored with, and were exposed time and time again. I remember Muniz had one header far post, free header. I have no idea how he was that free. I have no idea how he missed. I would have scored that now. So Manchester United just continue to live on this knife edge in terms of set pieces, and it's simply beyond me. They continue to be linked with goalkeepers coming in before the end of the transfer window. Maybe that changes in terms of how they deal with set pieces. Maybe a part of Amorim's thinking is that I'm getting a new goalkeeper in, Onana is on his way out, so therefore let me just stick with at least who'll be here in the longer term. And then
Who's going to take Onana, though?
I would take Onana, no question.
You would take Onana?
I'd take over
Bayern.
Absolutely.
But which club would take Onana now?
Well,
if he's on his way out, who's going to take him?
Well, who would take him?
Yeah.
Well, that maybe goes back to Italy where he had such success with Inter Milan. I don't think anybody in the Premier League takes him. Sorry, I'm misunderstanding what you were saying there. But let me...
You can't be that bad. You cannot continue with, and I'm not an Onana fan, you cannot continue with a goalkeeper who is so horrendous. And I'm not suggesting that the defensive structure is great, but he is so bad on those in-swingers, it's scary.
He has zero presence in goal.
Yeah.
He really does. Now, there's a lot you could say about Andre Onana, but at least he has a presence. At least he has a voice. At least you can see him shouting with the back four. No, he makes a lot of mistakes, and a lot of them are glaring. But this Bayern is by no means, by no measure, an upgrade on Onana. I would stick with Onana. But to your question, again, I don't think anybody in Premier League takes him. Maybe goes back out to Italy. Now, to Craig's other point about Cunha, and yes, he started wonderfully well. Manchester United played the second half, or Sydney finished the second half, with £200 million worth of strikers on the park.
Yeah.
I cannot think of Leno doing an awful lot for the second half. Made a couple of decent saves, which you'd expect from Bernd Leno. But there was 200 million of attacking talent on the park in Mbeumo, Cunha, and Sesko came on 8 minutes into the second half. Now, as expensive an attacking three as that was, you have Bruno Fernandes and Ugarte as the midfielders, kind of the anchor between the back three, come back four, and that attacking three. I am desperate for somebody to tell me what Ugarte does. Don't even bother to tell me what he does well. Just tell me what he does. I'm not sure what he brings to this side. I really am not. And as a result, Bruno Fernandes has to drop further and further. I spoke about him not tracking Smith Rowe and doesn't have the kind of creative impact as a result. So there's an imbalance to Manchester United, certainly in that midfield, that I think for all their spending is just negated.
This is a fired-up Shaka Hislop. I've not seen him speak so passionately about something since Jamal Musiala's injury.
Well, you think about the game, right? Think about the engine room. The player to me watching this game that was on the ball dictating the most was Zander Berger. He always seemed to be on the ball. He always seemed to be driving forward. He always seemed to be making the challenge. And Sasa Lukic. And I think that is supposed to be the engine room for Man United. I think the front line will come good. I think the quicker he gets out of this, well, Sesko's only just in the door, and gets him in the team, the better. Gets him in the team, gets him used to his teammates, gets Cunha in a better position, and gets him some game time. I think the better. And why not just start that now? He had a few minutes against Arsenal. He had a bit more today. But I think the quicker he gets him in the side as this guy who's a young striker with a lot of talent, a lot of physicality, I think it'll be the better for Benjamin Sesko to get that game time. And why... If we start the next game and he's on the bench again, it would just be like a head scratcher. So there are areas of this United side, and look, the story around United at the start of the season is they're better. And in some sense you could make that argument. They do look a little better, but at the end of the day it's all about results. It's about results, it's about defending, it's about the basics, and they still have an issue with that. And it's about, we put that graphic up of Ruben Amorim's results, and until he changes that, that's going to be that sort of cloud that's the shadow over him, isn't it? Because his results have not been good. And they continue to, as much as you could talk about a performance against Arsenal and an early performance against Fulham, which, by the way, if you look back in the last few seasons, they've had their way with Fulham almost every time. Yep. So Fulham have been a good club for them, and United have been a bad one for Fulham. And yet they weren't able to get that job done today. And you could say Marco Silva made better substitutions in the second half. The players he brought on had more of an effect, changed the way the game swang, and they did a good job. But United, I think, we're still sitting here thinking, right, how's it going to be? How far are they going to go? And are they going to be able to put a string of results together? And I still think there are big questions about how consistent they can be.
Well, there are big questions about the manager still as well, if this continues and how long he potentially could last. You heard from
Well,
Ruben
it's very
Amorim
early in the
after
season.
the game,
It's very
though.
early for that.
What did you make of what he had to say after the game?
What did he say? I can't remember.
From the soundbite that we just played?
Yeah, I wasn't really listening to him.
Well, he was saying that he doesn't... I'm glad that we do this.
Yeah.
Jack, did you remember?
Remind me too.
To be honest with you,
What did he say?
to be honest with you, I didn't hear what the question was because the question was very muffled, so I didn't really hear what his answer was, to be fair.
He did overall say that he felt like they needed to grow up. He felt like that United went a little too defensive once they went 1-0 up.
Well, he made defensive substitutions as well. He brought Iguati on. So he brought Harry Maguire on. Okay, that might have been for some set pieces and so forth. But, you know, his captain needs to grow up. For starters. He might be their best player, as Shaq said, and their best passer and their best set piece player and the guy who's going to assist and all, but he needs to grow up. But guess what? We've known that for quite a few seasons now. He spends a lot of time moaning and whinging at referees. And what we saw today, and there might be people sat at home saying, what's that got to do with the game? We've sat here and talked about Vinicius Jr. for Real Madrid and how when he gets off his game head and into the arguing with the referees and into the world's against me, you don't see him at his best. So are you telling me that when Bruno Fernandes is in this mindset, which is quite a lot, by the way, we're going to get the best, we're going to see the best out of Bruno Fernandes? I'll have that argument. And again, what he did today with that penalty absolutely beggared belief. It beggared belief.
To that point, and what Amorim had to say, again, as I was saying to be walking into the studio, a week is a long time in football. This time last week, Ruben Amorim was, albeit in a loss to Arsenal, saying that Manchester United have shown that they could beat anybody in this league.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, a week later, they're second best to Fulham, who, to Craig's point, I think they've won their last 8 before today at Craven Cottage. So that speaks volumes to kind of how differently things have shaped up. And to that point, while it's maybe easier when you're trailing Arsenal to take chances, to be more adventurous, to attack a team like Arsenal. And Arsenal will let you play football because they fancy themselves in a head-to-head matchup. That's fine. You can look good in a 1-0 defeat against Arsenal in that way. Now when you go up against Fulham and you have to defend that lead, it shows a weakness of their mentality in terms of, no, let's go ahead and kill this game off. And again, it's terrible to compare this Manchester United with the teams that we played against. But you let the Manchester United of 20 years ago go ahead, you're going to get 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Not see a team kind of regress and play on the back foot and not quite sure, knowing what they are to do next. They in so many ways, I thought Manchester United got lucky. And before we move on, I have to say this. Listen, I am all for Bassi on Mount was a foul and a penalty. I thought that was the right call. Maybe some see it differently. But if Bassi on Mount was a foul and a penalty, Euro and Bassi, 2 hands in the back, that was a push. That goal should have been